Hello and happy July. It is a beautiful time for me to come out and give you a tour of the garden for July, namely because it's only like 85. We're taking a little bit of time to heat and reach our triple digit temperatures. It has been quite a week here at Northern California, my Folsom Zone 9B garden. We are in the throes of a heat wave, nothing really under triple digit during the day. It reached 114 over the weekend, and that's just really hot. But today it's only supposed to be 99, I think they said, maybe 100, before we bounce back up into 109 temperatures again. But we'll bounce around a little bit and then come back down, hopefully by next week. So it's a great time to give a tour because I want to show you how our climate and how plants do in our climate in these triple digit heats. And you know what? They're doing pretty good. I am actually really happy. One of the benefits to where we live is that it's not a continuous triple digit heat. We do cool off at night. It's been getting into the 70s at night, maybe even high 60s, and that should come down again. And we're a dry heat. I know everyone makes fun of us for saying that, but really it does make a difference. It is a dry heat. It's hot and dry, and I invested a lot of time, as did my husband, in putting in drip and mulch last year. So our gardens are well hydrated and they're looking really good, actually. Yeah, a few things have died, and I'm going to do some things as soon as it cools off a little bit. I've got some changes to do. But I thought now would be a great time to take you through and show you what a mid-July garden looks like in my zone. So let me turn the camera around and I'll show you. Okay, I thought I would start with this new planting that I put in here underneath our beautiful Japanese maple, which is in the corner of our garden. It is north facing and is this side yard where a lot of our equipment and things are held, like our air conditioning is here and our pool equipment and our hot tub is here. But we had this little garden here, so I planted a few things in early summer, I want to say. So I put in some apple twist, heuchera, coral bells, and some Japanese forest grass, and some double blooming azaleas, and some Japanese crested ferns. And this is actually doing really good. We lost one. You can see one of the azaleas perished, but everyone else is looking really good. These are a little crowded, so in the fall I'll have to move out that heuchera, but everything is nice and bright and green and doing really well. You know, this is, whoops, sorry, dropped the phone. This maple tree is just so pretty. We just love it so much. And it's interesting because it comes out pure red, and then after we get some light on it, it starts turning into this pretty green, and the under leaves, like the understory leaves, still keep this beautiful burgundy with the green, and then you get the red fairy wings, they're seed pods. See that? So it's just a really pretty color combination. So the colors I tried to pick, I think, match really well. And if you look over on this side of our fence, our north-facing fence, I've got red tip photinia as a hedge because our neighbor's house is there. And that also comes out with red tip. So it is a really nice color combination over here. Oh, there's Gabby. And then over in this bed, the crepe myrtle are the star of the show. Look at those. I love that beautiful bright pink with the really thick blossoms on the end, and they will just bloom their little hearts out for the next couple months, which I just love it. So this bed is a little full. I have my plumbago that I'll need to trim back, but it's doing pretty good. I've got a salvia here that its first flush of blooms is coming to an end, so I'll need to trim that back, and I'll show you where I've done that in other parts of the garden. I've got this, I think this is like New Zealand flax here that looks pretty. It's got the really cool seed pod, like seed stalks, seed pods flowering. This is it. There's maybe just a little bit of a white blossom, but That's not the star of the show, not the blossom, but really I love the structure this adds. And then look, I've got a penstemon poking its head through there, which I think is really pretty, the purple with the variegated leaves. I really love. But you can see where the plumbago is done flowering and it has like this, you know, the ugly brown leftover. So I might want to come in here and do some deadheading. But you can tell there's some dryness in here because this is an African daisy. It really should be looking better than it does. My yarrow is here. I got to pull that out. The dead brown just really bugs me. And in here is a little bit of a mess because the yarrow has really taken over. So I mean, it's so pretty and I hate doing it, but I don't like how messy and it's flopping over and it's just too tall and too unstructured for this area. So I'm going to take it out. Got some verbena meteor showers that are doing okay. I've got an Atlas rose that's done blooming, a Japanese anemone, which this is its second year. I planted it last year and it really struggled with not a lot of water. So we'll see if it actually gives us any blooms this year. And then I've got skyscraper salvia in here. I've got 5 planted along the fence. They're just done blooming, but look at the leftover blooms. They're such a pretty apricot color. I thought maybe I'd leave them. And then I've got Shasta daisies, which are done with their first flush, so I cut them back already. You see that there. And some verbena that have kind of cycled out of a bloom, and I need to cut those back, and they will hopefully bloom again. These are not proven winner verbena, and I'm not sure what the brand is on this, but I have not been happy with them. And proven winners came out with a similar color. I think it's called raspberry. I think I'm going to get those and replace them. I just think proven winners verbena is a far superior product. So this is what they look like over here when they're in bloom, and they're pretty, but they just don't seem to bury their dead like some of the others do. This is the verbena Lilicina de la Mina. I really should have cut it back this spring, and I didn't. Not really having any experience with it, and I wasn't really sure what to expect. So now I know I need to cut this back, and then I won't have a lot of these brown. I mean, it's pretty, the purple, but I don't like it on the brown. And I think if I had cut that back, maybe I wouldn't have gotten that. And it's too big. And so it's completely covering this pretty Atlas rose that's back here. There's another skyscraper, salvia back there. So we'll have to see what I can do this fall. Maybe do some kind of retooling of this bed. I've got a salvia May night that I transplanted from being buried by the verbena, so it's not like it's doing much right now, but hopefully it will rebound. This coneflower, I had no idea they got this big. I thought they were a lot more small and a lot more delicate. This sucker is like, holy cow. It's coming to the end of, you can tell because they're faded and brown, so I should come in here and cut these off. Maybe do a hard cut back so they're not quite so big. But you can tell I've got some water issues. All right, that snow and summer is just not happy. But look at the lamb's ears doing great. Beautiful. I love it. Oh, but look at this. You see this? This is why you should never plant morning glory, because you'll never be rid of it, and it just goes everywhere and it engulfs all of my plants. And I just hate it so much. And the way that our fence is we can just never really get a handle on it. It's so annoying. But just it's looking crowded in here, so I think a nice midsummer trim will look really good. I trimmed back the kangaroo paw. I'm going to relocate those. I've decided I don't like those there. These are yarrow Peter Cottontail, these white ones, and they're doing pretty good. But I don't know. I need to do, this whole bed is just like thirsty, and I don't know I just got to get more water in here, I guess. I have a Rose of Sharon pillar white here, and you can tell just by the yellowing, it's been a little stressed from the heat and not great water. I have catmint, 4 catmint in here. Again, they're not doing great because I think there's just not enough water. I cut them back, but you can just see there's just some just some dryness here. So, you know, and I think just in general, this whole bed I struggle with. I've got my hydrangeas in here, which, you know, they gave me some nice blooms. You can tell they're a little hungry because they're a little yellowing of our leaves. But I think there's more water needed. I've got African daisy in here that I was hoping would fill all in here, and so far they haven't. I'm pretty sure it's water. And I think I've mentioned this before. It's because of these giant redwoods. These guys soak up, I think, a lot of the water. There's tons of redwood roots in here, and they soak up a lot of this water. So I think that's a problem. And I have the Mutabilis rose, which I love, but I just don't think it gets enough sun here to be a reliable bloomer. Though I know it's sunny now, but this is really as much sun as it will get. So I don't know, I might have to get rid of that. I did put 2 fuchsias in pots here, and they're looking pretty good, a little yellowing, so I'll have to investigate that. Might be fertilizer. Of course, when it's 114, you don't want to fertilize, so I need to wait for the temperatures to come back down before I do that. I think the water's okay. I think it's really a matter of fertilizer. I also planted along this fence line 1, 2, 3, 4 pots. I had let's see, I have lobelia in here, I have petunias in here, and I have calabroca in here, and it just doesn't get enough sun to really do well. And yet the water is, I guess there's just not enough water in 114 degrees to keep the lobelia happy, so that's not really doing all that well there. Though this one completely died because the water, unfortunately, top fell off of the sprinkler we have in here. So I'm going to have to completely replace that. But these two, the lobelias are doing okay. The calabroca, there's some petunia, but this is clear budworm right here. Clearly I have budworm. And frankly, petunia, not doing well. I've just decided I'm going to be done with petunias. They're too much work. And if you can get the same amount of beautiful color from other plants, then I'm going to do that. I mean, these were such beautiful baskets when I got them, and now I'm just like not happy with them. And I just really don't want to be spraying a bunch of chemicals. I could use BT, which is natural, but BT affects all caterpillars, not just the budworms. And I want my garden to be a haven for caterpillars. So I think I'm going to go to the Green Acres, take out the petunia, and I'm going to get something else. I'm thinking about some sort of beautiful coral bells, heuchera. These are Senecio. These are super cool, and it's doing pretty good, actually. I thought it would want more sun than it gets here, but so far it's doing pretty good. It might be a little thirsty. You see some curling of the leaves. Might be a little thirsty. It's been hot, and it's been hard to keep up with enough water. So, you know, whatever we can do. My azalea, they're done blooming here, and you know, we've just got to get in here and clean these up. There's a lot of spider webbing everywhere, so that's kind of a bummer. Here's a quick tip in case you've never done this. Run a drip line to your fountain, and your fountain will always be full. So we got to level this out. You can see it's leaning, and I have one of those solar fountains in there. It's not working all that great. It worked fine for a while and then just stopped working. So the birds love it. The birds bathe in here all the time, so I'm probably just going to take it out and leave it. But this is also another just tough bed. I had the yarrow completely take over. So as soon as it's cool, I'm going to come in here and kind of dig that up and see what else I might put in here. This is a tough bed because it gets some sun, but not a lot of sun. But the sun that it gets is the hot afternoon when it is cooking. So I don't know what I might put in here that will be happy. This is Russian comfrey. As you can see, that looks really good, but it's a big plant. I don't know if I want that up front. And the status, the sea lavender, is doing amazing. But again, it's a big plant. That's my Daphne. This got fried. You can see all the burning here. this is a tough bed for that. So I'll have to probably cut it back. And once Daphne goes downhill, it doesn't really recover, to be honest. So we'll see. I've got a couple more of the rows of Sharon Pillar plants in here that look a little stressed. So we'll have to see. But yeah, this bed is, you can just see, a little stressed. Some sun damage. But some, like the verbena, like here's another example. This verbena, somehow a different color snuck in here. It's really dry. And look at this Dusty Miller, dead. There's Clary Sage. Here's my GMs. They're looking really thirsty. So we're just going to have to do some work with water, I think. There's a hearty geranium looking very dry. It's one of those things where it's hard to keep up with water when you're on a drip system, when it's 114. Though it didn't stop this weed. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Oh, and it's one of those that has the prickles. I hate those guys. In general, the weeds are thriving. I haven't wanted to come out here, it's been so hot. And so there are some places where it has taken over. And so as soon as it cools off, I'll get going again. But mid-July is a very good time to see when flowers have gone through their cycles of blooming. So I've got a hardy geranium in here. Look at this, has done really well. But it's at the end of its bloom time. There's only a few blooms left, and it should, benefit from a trimming back. So I'll do that. My GMs are doing okay here. They're done blooming, of course. There's a few random ones on there, but they're done. I cut back the meadow sage here, and so those have come back beautifully. My rose is doing lovely, but you can see some dead things in here. So those were Asiatic lilies. They are not happy. I've got some penstemon in here that are struggling. Look at the weeds. I got a lot of really bad weeds. And a volunteer tomatillo, so I have to pull that up because I won't get tomatillos from it. You need to. But look at my very awesome summerific. Gorgeous. And my Pugster Blue Buddleia is doing amazing. They're too close together, so I'm going to have to move that. I don't know where, and I'm not going to do it in the heat of summer, so July is not a good time. But see, it's like everything's just a little fried. Here's snow in summer. I've got some daisies that are just a little bit suffering. You could just tell, there's some petunias still in there. And then these poor GMs, dead. These were the Tempo Rose. And then I had another Convolvulus dead. All three of those just upped and died. It's clearly I've got some water issues, but I've got some Calibroca that's hanging in there. Ice plant's doing good. Blue fescue, not happy. So, it's just a matter of water. And it's dialing it in and when they need it and when they don't. It's been a challenge. Got a Dusty Miller over here that should be, but it's not. You can hear how crunchy it is. Dead. But they don't look much different dead and alive. So I might just keep it. All of my hostas died in the front here. There used to be a whole beautiful line of them up here, and when we switched to drip, they just died and they never came back. And the rest are struggling. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that. But you can just see there is some evidence of stress in some of my plants and some not. So, it really is all about dialing in the water and then making sure that you're, planting the right plant in the right place. All right, so I've got winter begonias, winter bergamia, I think they're called. Got some flowering maple that honestly I expected to be looking a little bit better. I cut them back because we were suffering from chlorosis. I've got some dun foxgloves. I'm just waiting for them to produce their seeds so I can hopefully get some reseeding. So this bed looked gorgeous in spring and now it's not. As you can see, there's just a lot of dead stuff. It's mostly, maybe some annuals that I didn't expect to live through the year, but I did expect them to live longer. There's some oriental poppies that I thought would do a little bit more for me through the year. They're all dead, but the liriope is looking great. The azalea's reblooming. I've got some hellebores that are doing good. This is a Fragrant Delight heliotrope. It's not looking good. It was up until 114 degrees, and I think that just maybe accelerated the death. It's just too hot. 114 degrees is hot, you know. In this bed, you know, the purple fountain grass, of course, is doing great. That stuff is indestructible. I've got Veronica that is very leggy because it's reaching for the sun. A convolvulus that's doing okay. Some blue fescue that's struggling. And then, of course, my giant salvias here. These are the Rockin' Purple from Proven Winners. These are about ready to be trimmed down, but I'll show you. I trimmed them down in my other bed. And honestly, I felt so bad because the hummingbirds kept coming and looking for it. And I was like, oh, sorry, buddy. You know, so I'm hesitant to take these away too until the other ones have had a chance to flower. They really support a ton of pollinators. I mean, you can see all the carpenter bees are on them. The carpenter bees love this one. They don't go visit the other one as much as this one. So I maybe will just sort of try to trim when and where I can. But it's really, you know, thriving. My Gara is looking beautiful. My penstemon did a beautiful bloom, and now it's doing a second blooming here. It looks a little yellowing, and that's heat stress and water stress. Need a little bit more water for them. I've got a native verbena in here. It's a version of the bonsensis. It travels by runner. It's doing really good, but I have to keep an eye on it because frankly I don't want that everywhere. It's fine for where it is, but that's enough. I've got some more sea lavender here, a smaller variety. It's doing beautiful. And then my rose bed, I've got my Lady Emma Hamilton roses in here. These look like they need more water. They're a little bit on the smaller side this year, and I think it's just not enough water. I've got my asters in here. These are Aster fricari. I did a previous video on pinching or pruning these, and it really made a difference. I mean, this really filled out. It's beautiful. Oh, look! I have my first bloom. Usually these don't bloom until fall. Yay! Beautiful. And I've got a bunch more coming. Isn't that pretty? That little purple, little pop of purple. Here is more yarrow that is going to take over our house if I don't act quickly. But I couldn't take it out because if you remember from a previous video, this was like a ladybug's birth place. There was all these larvae, you know, ladybug larvae turning into butterfly. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't take them out now. But now the ladybugs are grown up and gone away and I can. Here's my weed patch that I got to get under. This is really bad. There's my volunteer tomatillo. That's got to come out. Here's my fan flowers. Most people, it's an annual. For me, it's turned into a perennial. It's looking beautiful. I had 4. One didn't make it through the winter, and then one died earlier this summer. So I just have 2 now. And then look, there's another petunia. That one's a supertunia, I think. Jazzberry. It needs fertilizer. It needs to be trimmed, and it needs probably budworm protection. So here's the difference. Here's the Calibroca, same color scheme, and it's doing much better. So I think I'm just going to stop using petunias and go for Calibroca and fan flowers. They're just more reliable, even though that kills me because I do love supertunias, especially the Jazzberry and the Royal Velvet. They are my favorite. But here is my beautiful Summerific Berry Awesome. You know, you only get, unfortunately, a day from all of these beautiful blossoms, and then that's it. But what a day it is. And yeah, when it was too hot, I wasn't going to come out here and take off all these dead ones. But oh, there's one. Look! Oh, one came back home. I'm not going to come out in the heat and deadhead, but it's cooler today, so maybe I might get out this evening and do it and make it look a little bit better because, boy, are these amazing. I mean, Holy moly, right? And then there's my pugster behind. Beautiful. Here's my dwarf nectarine, Arctic Babe, showing some sun scald. It's, you know, no one's getting out alive from 114 degrees. That's just the way it is, right? My inner circle here, the Marguerite daisies are doing awesome. I've got a variegated gardenia here that's doing awesome. Hearty geranium is doing awesome. Here's another geranium not doing awesome. I'm going to pull that. It was a gift. It was pretty. I liked the variegated leaves, but it wasn't really part of the plan, and so it's time for it to go anyway. So that's pretty much the patio inner outer loop. I did want to show you oops, sorry about that. My temperature, the camera overheated. Too hot. Which is kind of the theme for this bed too. Too hot. So I had that beautiful, huge rockin' salvia here. I cut it back. It's starting to grow back, no problem. My Royal Jubilee, hanging tough. I mean, I've been pretty impressed with these plants. But all of the little annuals that I put down here, the lobelia, the alyssum, they're all crispy fried. Same in this pot, crispy fried. You can't keep these guys hydrated enough, unfortunately. But my dahlia, I think I did a pinching pruning video on dahlia. Oh, look at the buds are here. So can't wait for those to pop open. Here's another petunia that I'm going to replace. It's just not performing without all the maintenance. So I'm going to put something else in there. I got this cool grass in here. I really like it. It's kind of this variegated white. I don't know, it just really offers a cool texture to the garden. I'm looking about how to incorporate more of these into my beds. I have another one of the Senecio angel wings, which this one's doing a little bit better. You can see the leaves are much more open, so the other one just needs a little more water. And there's my weeping Norway spruce. It's hanging in there, doing good. I don't know if it's grown at all, but it's doing its thing. Okay, let's run over to the orphan garden. Hang on just a second, I'll get us over there. Okay, here we are in the orphan garden. Here's my orphan garden now, just this sort of collection of pots that I will figure out what to do with. I couldn't believe it. We went away for a few days and I didn't water them, and they did okay. They are getting more sun than they ever did. We have this beautiful Chinese pistache of our neighbors here, but we trimmed it way up, and it offered up more light here. So I was a little worried that I thought, oh no, they're going to be fried. They did great. This is a scented geranium citronella plant. It normally looks like that because it kind of, goes over and spills. So a hard cutting back will get rid of all that dead. Here is my citrus grove. This is a blood orange, which I'm going to take out and replace with this sumo mandarin that I just picked up this spring. And then I've got a mandarin and a Tangelo that are doing phenomenal. Particularly this is one of like the cuties that you get at the store. This is that same small orange, but it has seeds, which is kind of a bummer. But it's just loaded. You can just see them all. And then if you may remember, we took our fig out. Our fig was here because our neighbor's fig, it was just competing with each other. And if we want a fig, we can just grab one of theirs. They're totally happy to share. My beautiful arbor that had the Eden rose and the clematis is, done for this season. I've got to go in there. You can see some sun scald damage to the clematis, which is fine. I got to prune that back anyway. So I just got to wait for it to kind of cool down before I do. And then yesterday this morning, but from last night, I posted a tomato hornworm update because I came in here and found all this damage that you can see at the tips of all of these tomatoes. I pulled off one ginormous one and then one sort of more small one. So hopefully I got them all, but we did discover that they do glow under a black light. So that was exciting. But yeah, you see my cherry tomatoes are doing better because, I don't get a whole lot of sun here, and this is, perfect for them. My green onion update from the kitchen scraps totally worked. They just kind of dried out. So I've got to make sure I get more water to them, and I've cut them back many times. So my cucumbers are doing amazing. I've pulled off a dozen cucumbers, and they are sweet, not bitter, delicious. I'm super happy with them. My jalapeno has been producing. I pulled off a bunch of jalapenos from this last night. More peppers here, but you can just see I've got a zillion cucumbers. This has done really well, and they're on this trellis here. What has not done well is my watermelon. I'm assuming, as I squeeze through this, I'm assuming it's because it doesn't get enough water. But look at that. It looks terrible. So I'm assuming this is some sort of powdery mildew. I don't know. Maybe there could be some insect damage, rust. I don't know. But it looks terrible. And it's just the older leaves. So the new leaves come out and they're nice and fresh. And then they just look terrible. So I haven't decided if I should just pull this out. But see, here's all the nice fresh growth but there's no watermelons on it. So I think this has been a failure to thrive situation. But, live and learn. I knew that. It's not a lot of sun here. So what I'll probably do is just transition next year. The cucumbers are doing so good. I could just make this all cucumber, or maybe do some research about what vegetables, do better with, partial sun. And even, the tomatoes, they're hanging in there. The tomatoes will not bloom in these temperatures. So I don't know if you are familiar with that, but the pollen doesn't drop and doesn't fertilize and create a tomato in high temperatures because the pollen is sticky. So even if you combine shake the tree, the plant, which is what I do to help with pollination, that won't help because it can't in this heat. So I think we're just going to hit a stall here. There's a lot of blossoms on the cherries in particular, but there's some up there too on some of the bigger ones. But I'm happy if I just get a few. I'm working with what I got, which is frankly, all you can ask for. So I've got, some work ahead of me. I will do it when I feel like it's a little cooler. And then the front. Here's my front. My Fort Bragg hydrangeas are looking a little crispy, but they've bloomed. They really need to go through a harder pruning. I haven't pruned them because I just wanted them to fill out and get their shape. And now I will think about how to prune these. And this is the best time to prune them after they've bloomed, so I don't cut off any next year's buds. But you can see there's just a lot of pruning that needs to happen here. So that's not something I'm interested in doing when it's so hot. And then, yes, just some other crispy things. I let my strawberries go. They were done. They were a couple years old and they weren't producing anyway, so I just let them die. These are last year's begonia, the proven winners. I'm totally blanking on the name, but they're crispy. They're just a little too crispy in here, and it's just maybe a water issue, though I do have water in here, but maybe it's not enough. 114 degrees is a lot. So if I trim them back, maybe they'll come back. But yeah, so this is what's going on in my mid-July garden. You may remember this. I put this lemon cedar, cedar, right? Yeah, lemon cedar. I always want to say cypress cedar. I get them confused. Transplanted it from my orphan garden. That's doing great. The begonias are not. And I think it's too much water, to be honest, because they're all just kind of rotting at the base of the flower. If you see that, I think it's too much water. So I don't have a drip in here. I have a spray So maybe I need to fix that. But I was worried about this guy, and it's doing great. Look at it. I just love the texture. It's all ferny and fun. But yeah, I mean, my Vigo garden beds are doing pretty good, comparatively speaking. I had some trouble with my water in the back, so the fuchsias that I put back there are recovering, I think. But so far, I'd say the biggest success is my cucumber. Anyone eat a cucumber? We have plenty. So, you know, this is July. This is heat wave. This is, let me turn the camera around. This is what happens when you get, you know, triple digits for a week plus. Everything is just a little thirsty, and I'm struggling with the drip. I have to be honest. I really wanted to be, you know, more water conscious, just given, you know, where we're living. We can't be wasting all this water. But if I'm losing all my plants, you know, what's the point? Why am I doing all this if my plants are going to die all the time? So I think we might end up calling in a water sprinkler expert, or, you know, water expert, whatever you want to call it, and do some supplemental water stations or add to the drip, because I have the every 12 inches. Maybe we just need to wrap another line around. But what's the point of buying all these, you know, plants if you're just going to let them die? So I've got to dial that in for sure. And some of the things that I thought were doing great, they were doing it great because we had a cool, wet spring. And so they were really existing off enough water that was coming from above. Well, in our Mediterranean climate, it won't rain now until December, likely. Sometimes it starts in October, November, but usually December is when we get it. So we have to have our water dialed in, or this is what happens, is you get crispy plants, dead plants. Now, some of it's unavoided. I guess I could do like shade cloths and, you know, things over some of my more temperamental things like the Daphne, right? But I have a little bit of a tough love philosophy, which is, you know, sink or swim, guys. I don't have a lot of time to, you know, be babying plants and shade clothing plants and all that sort of stuff. So I've got to really make sure I'm just picking the right plant at the right place. That's my weapon. my best utilized weapon is, and I'm interested in maybe going for more native. So I'm going to experiment with that maybe. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this mid-July garden tour in my Two Beast garden, and I hope that wherever you are, it's not too hot that you can't get out today and enjoy yours.